to our present. And currently we're looking at the agent dashboard, upper third of the screen, kind of left-hand side there. This is the login page. So we generally have integrations with MLS or intranet or other secure ways to access TransactionDesk through those other account types, predominantly MLS, maybe an association or intranet. We do have some generic login pages as well, but predominantly we like to integrate with MLS vendors and provide login links and one-click transaction links and a number of nice integrations within an MLS to access the TransactionDesk services. So moving further up to the upper left corner, clicking on that little 3-bar icon, it's simply going to expand a little window on the left-hand side of the screen. We're currently looking at the dashboard. That's why that one is highlighted. TransactionDesk, I generally refer to that little house and that link as to our filing cabinet view. We will come back around to that in another 90 seconds or so. But TransactionDesk is very transaction-centric, and maybe it's in the name of our platform. TransactionDesk is very transaction-centric. You have a new client, a new buyer, or a new seller. You create a transaction file. You add a set of forms. Use Authenticate for digital signatures. There are cloud-based document retention, task management, calendars, and contacts, and all these features that are integrated within the transaction platform. So we'll come back around to that house in a moment. But as I mentioned, Task Manager, all of our services can be used standalone, if you will. You can go right to a Task Manager and create an individual task. Today I want to brush my teeth and make my bed. That's a task that I want to complete today. So you can create this kind of a one-off or standalone tasks. Tasks can also be integrated within a transaction file. I have a new buyer. What type of tasks do I want to complete within my client file, my transaction file for that particular client? Order a survey, open title, order home inspection, things like that. So those features can be, tasks can be managed both standalone or within a transaction. Same with forms. We have a forms library, and we are licensed to program and post forms into our Instanet forms library by our clients, by the state that we represent, by the association, by the MLS, by the broker. We do offer custom forms programming. So we program and post forms into our forms library so that they are online and fillable. You can access those forms in our individual form library, where you can print a blank form or type up one individual form at a time. Forms can also be integrated within a transaction file to add a complete set of forms, to auto-populate those forms with your transaction details, dates, and contacts. So we're just trying to get at, yes, our services can be used in a standalone manner, but as we'll see in another minute or so, better integrated within a transaction file. Authenticate is our proprietary e-signature or digital signature service to prepare completed forms and any uploaded documents. You can deliver documents into Authenticate from your local computer, from the cloud, PDF documents, images, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets. There are all supported document types that can be prepared for e-signatures using Authenticate. Authenticate can be used standalone, or as we'll see in a moment, it is integrated within our transaction files. DocBox is our cloud-based document storage service, unlimited online document storage. All of our services in TransactionDesk are unlimited. Unlimited files, unlimited signings, unlimited forms, unlimited cloud-based document storage. And we do look at documents differently than forms. Documents are signed, ratified contracts. They are home inspections and surveys and deed restrictions and title commitments and loan payoff amounts and pre-qualification letters and loan approvals. Those are what we consider documents that you want to upload back into your transaction files or to your online account to retain online for at least state-required retention periods. So DocBox is just a branding name. Within our transaction files, we'll see space for document retention. Instanet Fax is one of 4 different faxing services that we offer. Instanet Fax is a fax to email solution where you can create a specific cover sheet and add a email address. You print out that cover sheet and send the fax to a generic toll-free number. Our receiving faxes read the barcode on the cover sheet, convert the paper fax to a PDF, and deliver the PDF to the email address identified on the cover sheet. Broker tools is what we'll speak to probably the last 5 or 6 minutes of this overview. We'll talk about the broker dashboard, broker's visibility into transaction files being created by the agents or associate brokers in their office, content that the broker can create, and the visibility to do document review and other file maintenance through that sale process. You can see the other options here for contacts. You can add contacts to your TransactionDesk address book. We have current integrations with Google so that you can import contacts from Google into your TransactionDesk. Setup options to create your personal preferences and filters and other features of your TransactionDesk personal account. Support, toll-free support, access to online How Do I videos, and just a tremendous amount of opportunity to get support from our toll-free 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, toll-free, North America-based tech support, as well as over 120 How Do I videos available right through your TransactionDesk service. You can also log out. So just wanted to run through those kind of high-level services that are part of a TransactionDesk account. And you can use any of those in a standalone capacity. But what we really encourage is transactions. We have a widget here to create new transactions. We have access to all the transactions that we've created previously. And these widgets are customizable on the agent dashboard. So pardon my mouse just for a moment here. Upper third of the screen, right-hand side. I call it the traffic light. Some others call it the snowman. We're kind of going back and forth between the two, but that little 3-bar icon is the most essential icon within our navigation of the TransactionDesk platform. So I'm going to click on it here, and it's going to expand opportunity so I can view my account as a broker or show the widgets that I can plot to this to my agent dashboard. The ones that are grayed out are the ones that are currently plotted. The blue and the green are ones that I can continue to plot onto my dashboard. So I just have immediate visibility into that content within my account. So let's just drag and drop one here. Recent signings, that's what this pen is. The pen is the little icon for Authenticate. So I'm going to click and hold to drag and drop that widget onto the screen so that I can, as I create Authenticate signings, I have immediate access to them right here through my agent dashboard. So again, customizing my dashboard so that I have visibility and access to the features I value most. The upper third of the screen, right-hand side again, I'm just going to click on that little padlock to lock down my dashboard so that each time I log in to TransactionDesk, I'll be presented with these widgets. I mentioned the videos. This little question mark, video monitor with question mark, is direct access to our How Do I videos, and they are very screen specific. So if I click here, I do have immediate access to a video, how to add, move, remove, or resize widgets. It's 1 minute and 22 seconds to watch that video on how to manage that dashboard and those widgets. I can also click here to see all of our help videos. So I'll point them out as we kind of go through this demonstration where we have those videos embedded, very screen-specific videos, but also access to our library of How Do I videos. And again, for the most part, they're between 1 and 3 minutes to see how to complete a specific function within the TransactionDesk platform. So very specific and very thorough video library of functions and features of the TransactionDesk service. So closing out that little video dialog box, we're going to go to a transaction. And I'm going to go here. There's a number of different places. I'm going to use the window on the left-hand side of the screen. I could also use the widget to go directly to a transaction. But I'm going to go to I call it the filing cabinet view. So I'm going to click there on transactions, and it's going to show me every transaction file that I've created. Now, this is my personal account. I show viewing it as an agent, as a broker. I do have visibility into transactions being created by the agents in my office. We'll see that a little bit further in the demonstration, but you see we have a lot of test transactions here. But I'm going to click on the one that I kind of customize a little bit. But just before I do, I apologize, I want to point out those icons at the top right-hand corner again. And if I just hover my mouse, it will kind of give me an indication of what will happen. Grid, list. Well, right now it's the grid view. If I wanted to view my transactions in a list, I can just switch that view to see that list view. And I can switch back at any time. I can filter my transactions. It's a little funnel to filter my transactions by type, by status, by owners. And by owners, it's either myself or other agents in my office who are sharing files with me, and so forth. So filtering, sorting. I can sort my transactions by the name, the type, the date, the modified, the closing, the listing, and so forth. I'm going to skip over the basket for a moment, but I can also create new transactions right here from this filing cabinet view. It gives me that opportunity as well as direct access to the video library. So I just wanted to point out those just navigation icons. It's one of the most important things about being introduced to a new system or platform. Website is to understand how to navigate around it. That's sometimes the hardest part is not the service, but just how to navigate, how to find the features that you're looking for within the platform. So sometimes just hover your mouse and you'll get that little tech tip to indicate what will take place. But I'm just going to click on my file name for Andrew Buyer Demo. You can see I also added a photo to my transaction file so I can visually identify the file as well as with the file names. I'm going to click on that transaction file, and it will bring me to an additional dashboard, right? So this is my transaction-specific dashboard where I've dropped widgets for the details, the documents, the forms, and checklist items. And I have a little window on the right-hand side of the screen that links to very specific features of this transaction file, dashboard and property detail, contacts, forms. I want to skip down to signings, because Authenticate is directly integrated within the transaction file. As I type up forms, upload documents, I can go over to Authenticate to then prepare those completed forms and uploaded documents for digital signatures. When I use the signings link from within my transaction file, those completed signed documents will be returned back directly to my transaction file. So it is kind of integrated in that way, kind of comes full circle in that I type up the forms, I get them signed electronically, they come back as documents within my transaction file. But just again, a couple navigation points with the name of my file and the menu, the little snowman icon to expand that. What might I like to do with this transaction? I can share my files with other agents affiliated with my office. So if I have a business partner, I work on a team, I can share my transactions with those folks. So I can share, I can add notes to my file, I can duplicate the file, I can apply transaction templates. It's a big part of transaction files is templating them, because every time I have a new buyer or a new seller, there are a lot of routine or customary features of that transaction file. So I can template those customary items, the forms that I generally use, contacts that are generally included, documents that are required. We call them checklists. You can add checklists to your transaction templates so that you can create this kind of baseline for a new client file based on the type of transaction you're starting. Every time I have a new buyer, I can apply my buyer template to that client file, add in a set of forms, document requirements, and those other features that are customary to that type of transaction. I talked about MLS integrations to access TransactionDesk. We also have integrations to import property information directly to our transactions. We generally have integrations with the MLS to import listing information, address, city, state, zip, legal description, tax ID. We can import that detail into our property details of our transaction file. We have more and more often now integrations with tax record, with RealList or IMAP or RPR, so that you can import directly from tax record. Maybe you're starting a new residential listing and you want to pull that tax data into your transaction file for the property address, city, state, zip, legal description, tax ID, seller name. That information, when it populates into your transaction file, will autofill forms that you associate to that file as well. So the value of these MLS integrations, not only convenience for accessing, but also to populate your client files with property information. which will then populate the forms, right? So that once you had details and dates and contacts to your transaction, you can then populate, or we call to auto-populate your forms with that transaction detail. So you import from the MLS or tax record to autofill that detail into your transaction. Property detail, contacts, dates. You can then auto-populate your forms with that information. And this automatically happens as well, but I just wanted to point it out here on the screen. That particular form I can auto-populate manually, or obviously it'll happen automatically when I utilize those import functions as well. So TransactionDesk is very transaction-centric. All these features and functions to manage that sale process. Forms, document storage, task management, and even checklist management. Checklist management, I'm in the upper third of the screen, right-hand side, just kind of hovering my mouse on a checklist. A checklist is for compliance features. You receive a lot of documents throughout a sale process. Some of them are compliance for state-required retention periods. If I'm representing a seller, the executed exclusive right to sell is a compliance document. The property disclosure statement is a compliance document. The broker disclosure and working relationships is a compliance document. I can create a checklist to ensure that I am uploading and retaining those compliance documents for the required retention periods. There's also tasks, and tasks and checklists can be integrated, but tasks is the honey-do list. I have that new seller and I want to complete specific actions, schedule open house, put out flyer and marketing materials, upload photo to the MLS, right? So there's a number of tasks that you want to complete for your clients as well. They can be managed through the transaction file. So that's kind of the introduction to the transaction file. What I'd like to do is just quickly walk you through the steps to create a new one. So that'll take a few minutes, but then we'll also look at the broker dashboard. So upper third of the screen, left-hand corner, just going back to that filing cabinet view so I can see all the transactions that I've created previously, but I also want to add a new one. I'm going to add a new transaction, create a new transaction, and ways that I can create this file. Name, type, import, add, and if I have transaction templates, I can apply them to this new client file. So the only requirements are to add myself as the listing agent and my client name or transaction name, address, client name, some combination of the two. We'll say it's Larry Lister. You can see I've used Larry before, but use Larry Lister. Everything else is optional. The type and import optional ways to identify or add detail to this transaction. Do I want to import data? Maybe. If I say yes, I can select from either the MLS or public records, so I have those integration points to pull property data into my transaction file. I don't have to use them. It's entirely optional, but it can be of value to automatically add that content. And as I create this transaction, upper third right of the dialog box there, create the transaction, it's going to prompt me to walk through to start adding detail to this transaction, property detail, dates, contacts, right? I can apply a transaction template to my transaction file. So if I have that templated detail, I'm not sure that I do. Let's see if I have one. Apply template. See if I have a template. I don't. I apologize. But I could create this generic file and use that generic file to create a template. So based on this particular file I'm starting, I can create a transaction template to consistently use the same information each time I have a new client file. So if it was that, if I was just creating this generic one, maybe I would change the name to listing template and walk through and just add very customary detail. But in this case, this is my new client, and maybe I didn't really feel like typing that in, but I can or importing it, but I can manually type it in, right? So there's nothing to suggest that I can't just type this information in. It's not required. The value is that this information will populate my forms. So add the detail, populate from MLS or Real List, type it in, however, or ignore it completely, entirely up to you. I'm just going to click on Next because I know we're kind of creeping up on that 30-minute mark. Dates. Dates are valuable for two particular reasons. One, we can add dates. They will populate our forms. Two, dates will also drive due dates for tasks. I have a new seller, and I want to complete a task 2 days after the list date. If I add the list date to my transaction file, it will drive a due date for my task. All I have to do is click to expand the calendar and select the date from the calendar. I add dates to my transaction file. They populate my forms. They drive due dates for my tasks. The next step is adding contacts. And you can see we can save and exit from the wizard at any time. And maybe I've planted the scene about transaction templates. And look at that. Right there, there is a link to a video that you can watch, a 3-minute video that you can watch showing how to create a transaction template. When I started my transaction file, I identified myself. I said, add me as the listing agent. So I was added in, listing agent, my office added in. I can certainly add additional contacts. Upper third of the screen, a little add. That's another valuable navigation feature is the plus sign and that add button. Because every time I want to add content to a transaction, a contact, a form, a document, I'll find that add button. And it'll give me the opportunity to create a new transaction contact for my seller, pull in from my Google contacts, pull from my TransactionDesk address book. I can add contacts to my transaction file. Those contacts will populate my forms. And that happens to be the next step of the wizard is forms. Access to entire forms library to add multiple forms to my transaction. Populate those forms with transaction details, dates, and contacts. We are licensed to program and post forms into the forms library. State forms, local association forms, MLS forms. We also provide custom forms programming for brokers and offices. So if you have your own custom forms, you can provide them to us, to our forms team, so they can program and post them into the forms library, only for your agents affiliated to your office to access. And part of the programming process is to map your custom forms to all of the details, dates, contacts of a TransactionDesk transaction file. So the forms library, to add forms. Next step is documents, and it's really the final step. We're uploading documents into our transaction, signed, ratified. If it's a listing, maybe they sent me a survey. Maybe they delivered to me a loan payoff amount. Maybe the HOA or deed restrictions and HOA documents. I'm receiving documents from my clients or cooperating agents, and I'm adding, there's that plus sign again, I'm adding those documents to my transaction. I can drag and drop them in. So if I have them stored locally on my computer, I can drag and drop them into this blue rectangle. Maybe more importantly is every transaction file comes with a unique email address. So maybe I'm receiving email messages from my client, cooperating agent, closing attorney, title officer. If I'm receiving email messages, I can forward those messages directly into my transaction file. Pausing for a moment for emphasis. Not only with attachments, right? Because obviously we want those attached documents to be stored within our transaction, but maybe just the email message. Maybe it's a very substantive email conversation with my client or cooperating agent. I could simply forward that email message into my transaction as well. So I can retain those substantive email conversations right within my transaction file. Those are all documents, and the email correspondence becomes very important documents that have conversations in them. So I can save those. I can forward in attachments to save those documents into my transaction as well. Unlimited online document storage. All of our services are unlimited. Document storage, digital signatures, transaction files, just closing out that little dialog box, completing the steps of the wizard, which will bring me into that transaction dashboard. So again, I just wanted to kind of show you basically, hopefully, how easy it is to create a transaction, how comprehensive it can be to incorporate all of those transaction details, documents, forms, tasks, compliance documents, digital signatures, how all of these features are integrated within that transaction file concept. So that's kind of the agent's perspective. Let's look at a broker's perspective now. Agents create transactions. They manage those client files. They type up forms. They get those forms signed by their clients. They're returned as documents. Documents to be retained within the online transaction file. As a broker, if I am a broker, qualifying broker, I have a view of all that detail that's being generated by the agents in my office. I can see all the transactions that were created in the last 7 days. I can see all the transaction files that are closing in the next 7 days. I can see documents that have been marked ready for review. So as my agents upload documents back into their transactions, they can mark them ready for review. Simple click of a button. I upload the document, I click a button that says request review. As a broker, I have immediate visibility to see that document, to review that document, to accept or reject that document, and send a note back to the agent why I accepted it or why I rejected it. I have that visibility. I have access to all these different types of widgets that I can, as a broker, establish. Do I want to impersonate agents in my office so I can log directly in as them? Yes, I can. I have that impersonate feature. I can see all of my office transactions, all of my office transaction files. So right now we have a widgets for, let me remove the last 7 and replace that with all of them. Not sure what happened there, but Office, dragging and dropping to add that widget onto the screen. So now I'm seeing that widget. I think I'm showing again. I guess I can try to, don't know what happened, but I'm now looking at the broker dashboard and customizing it with the widgets that I find most valuable. All the transactions that have been created in my office. That's what that office, transactions by office. I can see the transactions closing in the next 7 days. I can see documents that have been marked ready for review by the agents in my office, and I can accept or reject those. So again, customizing this. Frankly, I can customize the dashboard. If I am the sponsoring or qualifying broker, I can create custom dashboards for all the agents in my office. I have those tools within my broker dashboard, not only to create content like transaction templates. From a broker's perspective, I can create a transaction template for all of my agents to apply to their files. I can establish the forms that they should start with, the documents that they'll need to upload back in, the tasks they need to complete. I can generate transaction templates and apply them or offer them to all of my agents to apply to their client files. I can create clauses and have them opportunities to paste that specific language during specific sales situations. So as a broker, I do have this additional visibility into the files being created, content that being generated, but also that also that opportunity to create templates and document checklists and help my agents manage their client files. Excuse me. Again, so that's the broker dashboard. I'm going to lock that one down, customize it with the content that you're most interested in viewing. Upper third of the screen, left-hand side, expanding. And you can see that in Broker Tools. Broker Tools and Setup is where I can access the features. Let's go to Setup, because Setup is basically the same for both brokers and agent levels. They see the same opportunities. Brokers, when they create a transaction template or a document or a checklist, can make it available to everybody in the office. If I'm on agent level, I see the same opportunities that I can generate at my own user level. So these features can be set up by individual agents for themselves, or they can be set up at the broker for the entire office. So that opportunity under the setup options to create content and personalize the TransactionDesk account. We are right at that 30-minute mark. I would be very mindful of everybody's time, very appreciative of your interest and this opportunity to present. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. I'm going to re-raise this audio message. I'm going to bring up a couple items here. One is our first is our online calendar. You can schedule free follow-up webinars, one-on-one webinars, office-size webinars. They are tailored to the time that you have and the content that you want to cover. You schedule them for yourself, for your team, for your office. for the time that you have and the content that you want to cover. They're interactive so that we can speak to each other. If it's a one-on-one session, we make you the presenter. Right now, you're passively reviewing this webinar session. If you schedule a one-on-one through our online calendar, which I just pasted into the go-to training sidebar chat section, I just pasted that into the chat section. If you schedule a one-on-one session, we make you the presenter. So you're logged into your TransactionDesk account. You're creating transaction files within your account, and we are coaching you along. We are watching. You are sharing your screen with us. We are watching as you go through that process. It's much more hands-on. You are doing the work. We are coaching you through it. But we can also discuss from a broker level implementation strategies. We can show how the setup options for creating templates and checklists and helping that process of reviewing documents and that going paperless in the office. So let us know how we can best assist. Additionally, we do offer 24-hour a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, North American-based toll-free tech support. So anytime you have issues or errors, you can certainly call our tech support team for those issues and errors that you're receiving. But with that said, very appreciative of the opportunity to present. I do hope that this webinar was a benefit to you. And until we webinar again, I hope that you have a webtastic day.